Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our first ever Bubble Product Sesh. It's amazing to see people tuning in from all around the world. I'm Carly, and I lead product marketing and content here at Bubble. We have so many exciting plans to share with you today. I'm going to be joined by Alan, our VP of Product, and Payam, our Director of Platform Engineering. Alan will be going over our product strategy. Then we'll bring Payam on stage to share more about the platform engineering team and priority areas. Then Alan will share more about our editor modernization and workload tooling roadmaps. I'll share some quick community updates, and then we'll bring everyone back on stage for Q&A. So today, I'm excited to experiment with this very first product sesh and explore more ways to share even more detail about what we're working on in advance so we can get your input earlier and more often. And with that, let me bring Alan on stage.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Alan. Very excited to see so many of you here today. For those I haven't met, I lead the product org here at Bubble, which means I get to work with our talented team of product managers, product designers, data professionals, researchers, and of course, our own in-house team of Bubble developers, all to build and improve the Bubble product. We are very excited to be doing this webinar to share more about our current product roadmap. We've heard from many of you users that it'd be useful for you to know more about what Bubble's working on in case it influences any of your plans in the short term. But we also want to explain our priorities so that you know where we want to head in the future. And we're excited to do this session now because now Bubble is at a place where we know our roadmap farther out into the future and can also give more accurate estimates of ongoing projects. This webinar is going to touch on a couple of the different projects and themes we're working on this quarter, and I'm excited to share even more about next year's roadmap at BubbleCon in October. Before I dive in, a friendly reminder that this event is being recorded and it will be available online afterwards. So diving right in, to help contextualize the roadmap, I'm going to start broad. We believe that Bubble is the future of programming. In the future, any founder will be able to create technology and scale from MVP to IPO on Bubble. That is the mission of our product strategy, MVP to IPO. For a long time, those outside of the community have thought of Bubble as a great MVP builder or a tool just for prototyping. But if you've ever built anything on Bubble, you know how much more powerful the platform and really the community both are. Working here, I hear stories every week about apps that are scaling to, say, hundreds of thousands of users, or apps that are running critical processes for really large companies. And that's all thanks in part to their app that's built on Bubble. There's a lot we want to do under the MVP to IPO umbrella. With that in mind, our team is investing in 4 areas, in particular in Q3, that we believe are critical to getting us closer to that vision. The first is scale, stability, and speed. Second is improved usability. Third is artificial intelligence. And fourth is native mobile apps. I'll be focusing more on the first 2 today, and we're going to save the more exciting updates about AI and native mobile for BubbleCon in October. Today, we're going to be digging into a couple of different major initiatives from our product roadmap. First, Payam's going to come up and speak about platform reliability. The stability and reliability of Bubble is our #1 priority, and we know that our users can only scale from MVP to IPO if they have a rock-solid platform running their app. Payam will be sharing more about the work we're doing to further address the recent outages and challenges, as well as the major investments we're making that will level up our infrastructure in the long term. Next, I'll talk about our editor modernization initiative. These are updates we're making to the editor for way better usability and efficiency. And then I'll cover more about workload tooling. We're working on new tools that will help you understand, track, and optimize your app's workload. Without further ado, I'm excited to introduce Bubble's head of platform engineering, Payam Azadi, to talk about our efforts on platform reliability. Over to you, Payam.
Thanks for that, Alan. And I'm so excited for MVP to IPO. And thanks to all of you for being with us today. It's a real privilege to have the chance to chat with you. I've been with Bubble for almost a year, and I lead our platform teams who oversee everything outside of the editor and our growth-related functions like AI and mobile. Prior to Bubble, I've led and landed large platform and growth scaling projects at companies like the New York Times and Anheuser-Busch, and I also had the privilege of building and exiting a web platform company called DealerOn. I want to lead with our reliability efforts. The whole team is laser focused on it. As you know, we've experienced some challenges in recent months in that area. I know your businesses are running on Bubble, and that unexpected behavior and uptime, correctness, and speed can have a significant detrimental impact, not only to your day-to-day, but to your livelihood. We want you to bet your businesses on Bubble, and we're doing everything to make that a safe bet. I fear we've given the appearance of only engaging when incidents happen. And it's true, we respond to incidents urgently and fix them fast, but also our entire focus right now is in the proactive, not reactive work of building a new fortified foundation that you can bet on. I'm excited to talk to you about some of this work. I joined Bubble because I truly believe in the mission and the product. We have something that works, and it's on the cusp of realizing a big part of its vision, which is making thinking about servers and cloud a thing of the past entirely. And I believe this team at Bubble can make this dream a reality. And since joining a year ago, I'm excited to say we've already made a ton of progress. On the product side, we've started dividing and specializing pieces of our applications so each component can do its job far more effectively. We're providing new tools and services that are dramatically increasing engineering velocity so we can ship faster and with more quality. And we've dramatically improved the quality and coverage of our automated tests. Along with that, we're pouring a brand new foundation for our cloud, on which our workflow scalability and overall system resiliency will rest, which I'll go into detail on in a few minutes. In our dedicated environments, we've made tremendous improvements. They run far more reliably with a lower memory footprint and more insights and observability available than ever before. We've made a huge investment in providing reliability guarantees on our backend workflow size and scale, which we call all or nothing rate limiting. It basically means that we've guaranteed workflows under a threshold of 10,000 items will run reliably every time, fast, and without ripple effects from individual apps that can crash the whole system. We have a lot more coming over the next year that'll improve reliability by orders of magnitude, which I'll also dive in on in a minute. Finally, we're in the final stages of onboarding a new front-end framework called Solid.js, which will significantly improve performance in the editor, as well as enable developing many new experiences and abilities in the editor. As industry leaders, we even have 2 engineers who are core contributors to Solid.js itself. We've also made improvements in our page load performance and have significant gains yet to come as part of our Lean.js project, which we'll be announcing in a few days. Now, none of this has been possible without the support of a truly world-class team. In my career, I've made a point to only join highly mission-driven organizations, working on things that matter. And I can say that the Bubble engineering team as a whole, including the platform team, bleed our mission and truly live our values. I have the privilege of partnering with 2 incredible lead product managers, and we lead a team comprised of over 20 software engineers and 3 senior engineering managers across data scalability and platform engineering. We've onboarded a new on-call process for all engineering teams at Bubble, which I posted about in the forum a few months ago. And we've dramatically expanded the definition of emergency to include severe degradations of performance or app functionality, rather than purely infrastructure-related outages. But perhaps most importantly, we've consolidated all of our focus and attention down to just 2 priorities. Number 1, build a foundation for bulk workflows that will enable MVP to IPO for all. And 2, build a brand new cloud that is reliable, maintainable, secure, scalable, high speed, and enables engineering velocity across the board to make Bubble as a whole far more reliable and built with far more quality. These are already happening and well on their way. Zooming out for a second, here's how these pieces fit together. At the foundation, we have our cloud infrastructure, which provides capacity and automation to provide as much workload units in the moment that any Bubble app wants for as many Bubble apps as there are. On top of that, we're building our new workflow engine, which will eventually allow you to manipulate huge data sets fast. And on top of that, we have our observability and insights tooling that will give you all the data you could possibly want in order to understand your application's performance and continuously improve it. These layers working together will lead to rock-solid reliability at near and midterm scale and infinite scalability and high performance down the line. Reliability means we want to make it so that if you run your workflow 10,000 times or 10 million times, it succeeds as expected every single time. To explain our efforts, let me use the metaphor of a power grid. Just as the traditional power grid distributes electricity, our power grid distributes data. With the regular power grid, imagine what would happen if every person in New York City plugged in and turned on their vacuum cleaner at exactly the same time. It could create electrical surges, fires, undercurrents, and it would lead to chaos. That's the type of reliability issues we've been working through and steadily improving. And that's what I mean when I say we're building a brand new cloud. We're transforming the power grid itself. We're rebuilding the power lines, improving the distribution network, upgrading the fuel to have as much fuel as the system needs to provide as much capacity as our users need in the moment. In particular, this means building brand new compute infrastructure, networking, security, and auto-scaling, observability, and deployments. We're using modern tooling like Terraform and containers. We're building our core services with the extremely secure and high-performance programming language Rust, and we're consolidating the way we manage our shared and dedicated environments. We're creating a robust foundation that can support current demands and future growth, ensuring a stable and scalable platform. And this is all being done transparently and behind the scenes. You won't notice any of it. You won't notice the construction. And at the end, what you'll experience is far more stability and resilience, which I hope will create a lot of trust. Now, in a regular power grid, transformers modulate voltage up or down to ensure a stable supply of electricity. In our data power grid, these transformers execute workflows, which transform ingested data into a desired state reliably. Right now, the Bubble setup includes 6 transformers located in one physical location, serving all Bubble users. Today, these transformers aren't resilient to certain types of surges from individual applications, leading to volatility and unreliability. Our work is focused on upgrading these transformers, the components responsible for executing workflows. We're making these transformers resilient to surges and dramatically increasing capacity, execution efficiency, and soon geographic availability. We're doing this while making our data streamable and highly portable across our cloud infrastructure. The first part of this process is something we call squeezing. We're standardizing the size and shape of data inputs for workflows. This is going to make it easier to process data sets at scale and prevent microsurges or blockages due to large data chunks. This work is already nearing its final stages. Making our data streamable will allow us to massively scale up our data operations by working on continuous streams of data rather than blocks of it at a time. It'll also allow us to start separating and scaling out other parts of our system that will lead to stability and performance improvements. And we're doing this very carefully because we're focused on getting it right 100% of the time. Your data is your business, and we want to both be highly effective stewards with it and give you the confidence, tools, and support you need to leverage your data to grow your business. Finally, just as a smart grid uses real-time data to optimize electricity distribution, our insights layer provides detailed monitoring and control over your data workflows. We're introducing a new observability improvements that offer a far more robust and granular understanding of how workflows are running, similar to how a smart grid provides data to help operators manage and optimize power distribution. This quarter, we're excited to be working on a better experience for understanding what's going on in your app with an enhanced Workflow Runs tab. This will provide a layer on top of server logs that help you with understanding how entire workflows and sets of workflows have run. We're completely revamping our log interface. We're adding much more detailed entries on workflows. We're adding all sorts of filters, ability to tune by severity, group messages together, understand frequency. And as our system itself becomes more solid, we're going to make it clear when unexpected behavior is from the Bubble app itself versus from Bubble. We're trying to empower Bubble developers to build the most efficient, effective, performant workflows possible by giving you more data and better tools. To conclude, zooming back out, what Bubble is doing building this platform is unique in the industry. Only the other large cloud providers like Microsoft and Google have had to build a scalable, resilient system that provides as much on-demand capacity as businesses want. Owing to the incredible ease with which you can create complex apps on Bubble, we've outgrown our infrastructure, but we're fixing that. And we're aiming to provide the world's first and only truly serverless experience. We're doing it with an incredible team. Even Amazon has asked us to open source some of our cloud management technology. And we recently invented a brand new way of keeping software services we deploy consistent in a way that maximizes engineering speed and security. In developing this strategy, I'm drawing a little bit of inspiration from the Washington, D.C. subway. We call it Metro, where Alan and I are from. In its heyday, it was the pinnacle of public transport, but it degraded over the years. Recently, the general manager developed a scheme called Back to Good. He didn't promise that trains would suddenly become an extraordinarily luxurious experience and run every single minute at all locations. He set an objective of when the trains would run, maybe a little less frequently than people would ideally want, but guaranteeing the train would show on time. Right now, we're in Back to Good mode. But over the next 6 to 12 months, I hope to complete that mission and start transitioning us back into Elevate No Code mode. And my last word on this, building trust and getting our platform back to good is not just a platform concern. It's a focus everywhere at Bubble. And I'm going to hand it back off to my close partner on the product side and fellow DC original, Alan, to talk about editor modernization and other complementary trust building initiatives.
Thank you, Payam. Next, I'm going to cover our editor modernization initiative, but first I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by modernization. Bubble is a very powerful product, but we've historically prioritized functionality over design and UX. But we know that the design of our tool, the editor, is extremely important because it impacts every moment you spend in Bubble, from what a button can do in the editor to how you approach building out your app. Over the past year, our design team has developed new design principles to guide the UI and UX of the Bubble product. We'll be sharing more about these design principles at BubbleCon, but you've all felt this too. This community has highlighted the need for a more modern, streamlined, and intuitive editor, and we're taking the feedback to heart. So we are now working on a major effort to modernize the editor's look and feel to drastically improve usability, so that Bubble's extensive functionality is complemented by its form. For the editor modernization initiative, we've broken our editor down to over 3 dozen pieces, big and small, and we've prioritized them to update each piece one by one. When we touch each piece, the priority is to improve the usability of key user flows, which also involves knocking out bunches of quality of life improvements. The work will also give the piece a visual refresh and bring the design of that piece closer in line to our design principles. As a peek behind the curtain, this also lets us refactor our code to use a design system, which enables faster, more confident future updates by our engineering team. In case you're curious, I wanted to give a sneak peek at a couple of our design principles. First is keep users in their flow. Second is don't say it, show it. And third is everything, just not all at once. We're excited to share the full set at BubbleCon, but today, let's see ways in which these principles are manifesting in our designs. For example, to keep users in their flow, here's how we're envisioning part of the revamped Workflow tab. Here you can see the user searching for a particular workflow action, and the list of workflows on that page will filter down to ones with that action. Plus, there's a hover interaction to quickly see how that workflow action shows up in that particular workflow. This helps you stay in the searching flow so that you can find what you want more efficiently. Next, don't say it, show it includes giving more options to users for ways to organize the information on the page. Here you see the ability to organize the list of workflows on this page by folder or by event type. And third, my personal favorite, everything, just not all at once. Bubble can be a bit overwhelming, to say the least. So we're aiming to revamp our information architecture to make navigation more intuitive. Here, for example, we're improving the organization of all the options available in those menu bar menus so that those actions are easier to find and less overwhelming. You may have noticed some of the progress we've already made, bringing parts of our app closer to these principles. Over the past few months, we've already rolled out a number of pieces of the modernization initiative. On the Design tab, we've revamped the Elements tree and the new Elements palette. We've also done the left nav in the editor, the Element Styles tab, and the App Plan tab. As the preview just now suggested, the next areas we're tackling this quarter are, first, the menu bar, which is the strip at the top of the editor that lets you navigate your app's pages, access certain commands, deploy, preview, etc. And second is the Workflow tab, which is a key meaty part of the Bubble editor experience. After the Workflow tab and menu bar, we'll be moving on to other significant parts of the editor, like the Data tab and the Property editor. While we're here, there are 2 more usability updates I'm excited to share for the rest of this year. The first is changelog. This feature will show you a list of all the changes that have happened to your app on that branch. We've already started dogfooding this new feature in June, meaning it's available internally for our Bubble developer team, who are helping to give feedback and point out bugs. We're excited to share more about our progress on this project at BubbleCon. And number 2 is the table element beta. We're very happy the community has been enjoying the value of the beta of the table element. We know that this has been in a beta for a while, but we've been rounding out its feature set a bit over time. And there are still a handful more small features we're excited to build in, like pagination. We're hoping to have an update by the end of the year here. So that covers core editor improvements that we're working on. Next, let's talk about our tools for understanding workload consumption. Last spring, we moved to a usage-based pricing metric called Workload. For newcomers, Workload combines all server resources needed to host, run, and scale any Bubble app into a single metric you can monitor and manage. Unlike our previous metric, Workload focuses solely on resource usage, not capacity limits. Think of Workload as the fuel for your car. You're paying for the gas in your car and not how fast you can drive. The 18-month transition period is ending on October 1st at midnight UTC. This means all legacy apps will be auto-migrated to workload-based pricing plans. Once you're on the new plan, you can determine if you need to subscribe to a workload tier or keep paying as you go for any workload overages. Our efforts now are around helping you better understand and manage your workload consumption. We've done extensive research to better understand the current state of things here. For example, our research showed that there are 3 main priorities for us to improve on. The first is explaining workload, which means clarifying how workload measures resources used to host, run, and scale an app. Second is tracking workload, improving ways to monitor and measure what uses workload. And third is optimizing workload, sharing best practices for optimizing your app's use of this resource. We've recently launched a number of features and resources to address these 3 priorities, and we're working on some more. First, towards understanding workload, we recently reorganized the workload section in the Bubble manual and added new articles categorized by understanding, tracking, and optimizing workload, so it's easier to find the most helpful materials. Big shout out to Petter Omley, who many of you probably know, who's done a lot of amazing work on all of our written documentation. Also, most users find that their plans include more than enough workload to get started, but our new cost estimator tool will help new users get a sense of estimated monthly costs. This estimate will include the cost of your monthly plan, workload units, and plugin subscriptions. In early August, we will also be sharing a new tool to help users on legacy plans understand what plans they will be auto-migrated to. Next, towards tracking workload. In addition to the app metrics found on the Logs tab, which offers a historical view of workload consumption, we also launched custom workload notifications. When your app hits the custom threshold you set, we'll send you an email so you can make any desired changes like pausing or updating workflows or changing your workload subscription. There are some more improvements coming out soon to help with tracking workload. On the App Metrics tab, we're improving the current visualization of what's using workload. For example, we're going to make it clear what time frame that pie chart is referencing. We're going to give customers the number of workflow runs corresponding to different pie chart pieces to help ground workload consumption in real-world activities. And we're going to improve the navigability with breadcrumbs on top so it's easier to understand and drill up or down on workload activity. The team is continuing to brainstorm other ideas for features that will help you understand how workload corresponds to different activities of your end users. And third, towards optimizing workload, We recently added new materials to the refreshed articles in the Bubble manual, as mentioned earlier, including an optimization checklist and optimization tips from Bubble agencies like Minimum Studio, Neem, and Support Department that detail how they've helped clients decrease workload by as much as 400%. Also, many of you use recursive workflows to complete bulk data operations, but we wanted to highlight that there's a more efficient solution, which is Schedule API workflow on a list. Our team has made major investments in this feature to make it easier to configure, 3 times faster, and more scalable, up to 100,000 items. But if you're using a recursive workflow, we wanted to let you know we launched Infinite Recursion Protection, which lets you set an app level limit for how deep recursive workflows in your backend can go. For example, in case a workflow level only if statement fails to stop a recursive chain. As of July 1st, all new Bubble apps will have this feature enabled with a default limit of 10, and any app created before July 1st won't have a limit applied automatically, but you can enable and customize the limit at any time. So that's a recap of what's very recently launched and also what more is in store relating to Workload. As we wrap up all the above projects, we'll be keeping an eye on how y'all are feeling about the tooling you have for understanding and managing Workload. And with that, I'll hand it back off to Carly.
Alan, thank you so much for all of those exciting updates. As many of you saw, on July 15th and 16th, we had our first ever Bubble Boost Sprint. Our team scoped and shipped more than 30 quality of life improvements, from getting rid of untimely pop-ups to reducing manual size adjustments. This event was so fun, and it's obvious the community wants way more boosts. And while our product teams consistently scope and ship boosts throughout the quarter, dedicating specific time for this clearly makes a big impact. So thanks to the feedback from all of you, I'm excited to say that the team is planning for another boost day next quarter in December. In this most recent round, the team shipped over 30 updates across the property editor, the design tab, and the community favorite, hotkeys, to make navigating the editor faster and more efficient. We're constantly collecting feedback on what boosts are most important, so as we gear up for the next boost day, be sure to leave your requests for future boosts on the idea board and the forum. Finally, before I bring Alan and Payam back on stage, and please be sure to leave your questions in the comments, I'm excited to share a few updates from our team about ways to get involved with Bubble. First up, we're gearing up to launch the Bubble Early Testing Advisory, or the beta program. Many of you have expressed interest in sharing product feedback and helping us shape the future of Bubble. If you're excited to participate in more of our alphas and betas, be sure to sign up when this page launches in early August. Much of what we discussed today, like the Workflow tab, will enter testing in Q3. There's no commitment to join, and we'll reach out as testing opportunities become available. And along the lines of feedback, we're also excited to have launched our very first ambassador program. This group of experienced and passionate individuals embody Bubble's mission and values, and they help grow our community. In addition to regularly meeting with our product team, ambassadors organize meetups and they help moderate our forum. You can learn more about these ambassadors on our community page, and we plan to refresh this group regularly. So stay tuned for updates about our next round of applications. And finally, our team has been working really hard to create new video courses, not just for beginners, but for folks at any step of their Bubble journey. Huge shout out to Greg John, and I see he's here today, for partnering with us on all of this amazing content. This Friday, on July 26th, we're releasing a brand new course on how to integrate your Stripe to your app so you can accept payments from all of your users. And next, we'll be releasing a course on how to optimize workload consumption. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already to get notifications about when new courses drop. I want to thank everybody for your time today. I hope you're as excited as we are about what's to come. We're here thanks to the time and effort all of you have put into this community. Recordings for this event will be available on YouTube, and we'll be sharing them in our What's Bubbling newsletter, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, remember to register for BubbleCon on October 1st and 2nd. At this year's user conference, we're gearing up to share more about the areas we covered today, as well as the highly anticipated updates around mobile and AI. Now I'm going to invite Alan and Payam back on stage for some Q&A. Let's see, first from Matthew, is there an indication of what type of speed improvements we will see? And will this benefit page load? I think that's a good one for Payam.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Matthew. Thanks for being here. Page performance is one of the kind of North Stars for us here on the platform team. It's hard to say across the board what the page improvement will be because so much of it is dependent on how the individual app is built. There's three areas of performance that we think about. One is the language itself and the affordances we give Bubble developers to build performant applications. One is the scalability and performance of our backend, and the other is the front end rendering itself. We're focusing on the latter two over the next several months. So I made mention to a project Lean.js is coming. We're expecting somewhere between 10 to 20% page improvements for well-designed Bubble apps on their front end. What we're looking for with kind of this cloud work is to lay the foundation where we're going to be able to dramatically improve the performance on the backend workflows, which in many cases will have impacts on front-end performance because of things like page filters and on-page hooks.
Looks like we have another one from Matthew. With the new database and cloud build, will lists of things be able to scale better, meaning more than 100,000 items in a list wouldn't affect performance?
Definitely. This is what we're working towards. So the cloud and the database stuff is working together. On the cloud side, we're making a lot of new infrastructure available that gives us a lot more capacity. And then we're rebuilding our workflow engine entirely. And with what I mentioned about squeezing and streaming data, that's laying the groundwork so that we can scale workflow size for any Bubble user to scale as much compute resources and database resources as they need in the moment to finish huge workflows fast. That's where we're moving towards, and we're laying the groundwork for that now.
Very exciting. We have two questions on some of our newer features. Any estimates regarding when the native mobile feature will be available to the public? And then we got the same question from Greg about AI.
Yeah, I can take this one. Come to BubbleCon to hear more about both native mobile and about AI. On the native mobile front, we're making exciting progress. I would definitely encourage folks to sign up for the waitlist at bubble.io/mobile if you're interested. And on the AI front, I'll call out our new AI-powered feature that takes a prompt you give it and will generate the designs of the page for you. We announced that new feature a few weeks ago, and we hope that people are finding it useful and excited. But more to come at BubbleCon.
Let's see, one from Tectonic. Is there an ETA on the editor menu improvements that Alan mentioned?
Yeah, so we're currently working on both the menu bar and the workflow tab within the editor modernization initiative. Both of those are projects we are actively working on in Q3. So we're hoping to have an update for you all at BubbleCon. But they're very active projects this quarter.
Next up, any plans on working with PWA as well as native?
Yeah, so the focus of our efforts on native mobile apps is on native mobile apps, like true native mobile apps that can be listed on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So the focus is not specifically on building PWAs.
And from StarNap, can we expect to be able to run loops anytime soon so that we can create lists of things on the front end? I think that's another one for Alan.
Yeah, this is on our radar. No firm timeline to share about it at the moment, but it's on our radar. I would say for now, if you're looking for different ways to create lists of things, we would still direct you to the schedule API workflow on a list action.
I think we have another one for Alan. My clients always request or need beautiful sites. To that end, when can we expect more CSS abilities? For example, CSS classes or options like aspect ratios, better gradient controls, and so on.
Yeah, great question. This is not currently one of our areas of focus and priorities right now. We definitely have a great list of ideas that we would love to tackle at some point, but for the sake of prioritizing, this is not currently one of our priorities.
From Rare, will workflow triggering using conditions come anytime soon?
Yeah, I think I would have to hear a little bit more about what you're wanting to accomplish here. If it's not covered by kind of the only if statements on workflow events and by database triggers. So yeah, if you could post on the forum or reach out somehow afterwards, happy to help.
Next one, any plans to introduce free-flowing canvas, aka Figma, to the new workflow tab? Would be helpful to the design tab as well.
Yeah, love the question. I think it does touch on maybe a couple of the design principles we have that we didn't cover in detail today. For this one, I'm gonna say come to BubbleCon to hear a little bit more and to see a little bit more about the workflow tab that we're working on.
Alan's teasing us. From Matthew, will database improvements lead to more powerful and fast filtering capabilities on the server side?
Yes.
Nice. Let's see. I think there's a question around BubbleCon tickets, and just want to reiterate for everyone that they're definitely still available. So please sign up, both live and virtual. Just skimming for more questions. Let's see. Any updates for designing environments in the future?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this question is referring to kind of the design canvas in the editor, which we do have hopes to continue improving on. There might be some more improvements to that coming as part of the editor modernization initiative a bit later, but that's not those aren't the near future pieces that we are working on quite yet. Or this question could potentially be referring to the idea of maybe multiple development environments and kind of leaning more into that capability. That's something on our radar, but it's not scheduled on our roadmap yet. It's something we would love to do. It's a fairly substantial project, so no hard timelines I can give on that particular idea.
Looks like we can take a couple more. From James, are there any plans for backend workflows being able to return data to the app's front end?
Yeah, this is a fun one. It would definitely be a very fun capability to unlock for Bubble apps. So it's something we've kind of bandied about internally. It is not something that is scheduled on our roadmap. Our priority is really first around the scaling and reliability work of data operations, which kind of includes backend workflows, as Payam was talking about.
All right, and one more from Matthew, and then I think we'll call it a wrap. Are there plans to have a step between being on cluster and dedicated, meaning 3 to 4 apps per dedicated server at a lower cost point than purely 100% dedicated?
Yeah, I would say the answer is no, no concrete plans towards that right now, though depending on the particular situation of the customer, like if this is one customer with 3 to 4 apps, that's a situation that I would encourage you to talk to our sales team about because we might be able to help work something out there.
Awesome. Well, that'll be the end of our Q&A. As always, never hesitate to ask questions on the forum, and we so appreciate everyone's time joining us. We cannot wait to keep the conversation going at BubbleCon in October. Thank you again for the time, and we'll see you at the next product sesh.
Thanks all.